I don't have a whole lot of options here for watching movies in Korea. Sometimes there are some decent English speaking movies at the local cinema, the local theater that I can go to, but I haven't done that in years. Mostly because the recent movies coming out of Hollywood are just plain stupid. Got so much of this woke crap going on that it's not it's not worth going to watch, and I don't want to waste money. So I do a lot of movies on YouTube. From time to time, I'll buy a membership on Netflix until I get to see all the non-woke stuff they have on Netflix, and then I'll delete my membership until they can build up another store of those, because they're filling Netflix even with so many woke series and movies that it's not worth staying a member of on a regular basis. In any case, I get a lot of movies from YouTube, which means I watch a lot of old classics, a lot of westerns, John Wayne, right? That's very, very fun to me. And this one that I just watched, called The Devil's Conspiracy, which is not an old movie. It's relatively new. But I saw The Devil's Conspiracy is about an art critic. I think she's an art critic. Goes to Rome. I assume that it's Rome. It might be some other European city. In any case, goes to European. Turin. Yeah, goes to Turin in order to see some art and sculptures that are there, and take some pictures and critique it. She's not a believer. She's an atheist or an anti-theist. Mostly atheist, I think, is probably a best way of characterizing her position. But then something horrible happens. That she's taken and she's turned into essentially an incubator, right? And they want to make her an incubator so they can harvest the genes of Jesus off the Shroud of Turin, right? And then impregnate her with another Jesus, and then somehow mix that new Jesus with the spirit of Satan himself out of hell, which enters her through the mouth, and fills her body and soul with the evil character that somehow is going to meld with the new Jesus and become, well, the second coming in a very bad way. In any case, it's actually a pretty good flick, pretty good movie, and it deals with certain ideas. It deals with compassion and mercy. It deals with ideas of science, redemption, all kinds of ideas that are worth talking about. We can see the same types of ideas explored in movies like Redemption. Constantine, The Exorcist, Shadowlands, stuff like that. All of those are good flicks, and they're worth watching because they tackle the issues of good and evil directly, and in spite of themselves, show how tenuous is good, because evil being the absence of good, evil can shut out or block out or mangle the good and turn it into something that is clearly not good. In any case, just thought I'd share that movie with you guys. What does that have to do with what we're talking about today? We're talking today about people who are fighting the spiritual battle, but they themselves are unspiritual, or they themselves are not people that we would exalt and say that that's a perfect individual that I want to follow, right? None of us can be Jesus, but that's not at all what Jesus was looking for. It's not at all what God is looking for in order to fight the spiritual battle. The spiritual battle is left up to people like you and me being one of the most fallen among us, right? That still reach out every time that we fall down, we stumble, and by our own doing, we cause bad situations, and we fling our arms open and say, God, I am so sorry. I did it again. Take me back. The only constant in the lives of these people then is that constant relationship with God. And so we can look at the Bible and we can see all kinds of people that screwed up big time, and yet they were still considered to be beloved of God. Like that last video we talked about, get behind me, Satan, when Jesus was talking to Peter. Peter, who denied him 3 times the night that he was being, the night before his crucifixion, right? It showed incredible human weakness. He wasn't the kind of person that we want to say, oh, that's clearly the way all Christians should be. We want to be better than that. And yet, Peter is the exalted one in our churches, certainly in the Catholic Church, right? And we see Peter as the everyman who had regular thinking that Jesus was going to use for great things. So it wasn't greatness that made Peter do great things. It was his fallenness. It was his weakness that was used by Jesus, by God, to do great things. And so it is with the rest of us. So if we look in the Old Testament, we'll find one who is described, no, I think it's described in a psalm that he himself wrote. So it might be a little bit of a self-congratulation. But he's considered to be beloved of God, right? Beloved of God. That means he was a favorite of God. He was God's man. David, King David, which had quite a life, quite an adventurous life, right? From killing Goliath with a slingshot to running away from King Saul, right? And then playing games with Saul, like appearing in his camp and over his bed in the middle of the night without getting caught, never wanting to be responsible for killing Saul. So he never went to that, although he had many opportunities, and he could have done that kind of thing. He was mischievous. He was a mischievous guy. And that mischief didn't leave him. When he finally became king himself, he did all kinds of things that we would consider not just questionable, just plain bad. Like the whole episode with Bathsheba, right? He saw this woman that looked pretty smoking hot, bathing naked on the rooftop over from his castle. And he said, hey, give me the girl, right? Brought her over, and he got it on with her. And of course, they had babies as well. Well, she was married. He knew that. He knew the woman's husband, Uriah, right? One of his generals in his army. And so he sent a message up to the front where battle was going on. And he said, hey guys, take Uriah and put him in front of everybody else. So if anybody gets killed, he gets killed first. That way I can kind of retroactively justify my relationship with his wife, which of course didn't work. And that relationship ended up destroying David's family for the rest of his existence on earth. It's actually a tragedy in the way that it worked out, but it made him feel good for a period of time. So why was he considered beloved or a favorite of God? It's because he knew exactly how corrupt he was, how bad that he was. He tried to do the right thing, but he knew he would fail to do the right thing on a regular basis. And yet every time that he did, he would come back to God, fling those arms open wide and say, God, I screwed up again. I'm not worthy. Please take me back. And God did. That's what he's looking for. We have a illustration of this type of relationship with God and man with the parable of the prodigal son, where the prodigal son, who was a son of a rich man, he had a brother, and the brother was a goody two-shoes, and the prodigal son was not a goody two-shoes. Call him the prodigal son just simply because he was prodigal. And so we give him the name as if that name was his name. It was not his name, but it's a description of who he was, or his character. He went to his father and he said, "Dad, yeah, I know you're rich. Give me my portion of your riches. I don't want to wait till you die. Pay me now so I can go out and have fun." And he got the money and he went out and he had fun. Wine, women, song, anything that he wanted to do until he ran out of money, right? It's all great until the money is dry. And then he came back to his dad. And his intent was to go back to his dad and say, "Dad, I don't deserve to be here. If you just give me a job and let me work as a slave for you, that will be enough." And his father would have nothing of it. His father ordered that his other son kill the fatted calf, the best animal they have in their flock, and that they have a celebration and they have a party to honor the return of the son to the family, the prodigal son. That's God. God cares less about the goodness of our life and more about the intent, the ultimate purpose, the ultimate meaning of our lives. Doesn't care whether we die, cares how we live. And that was the whole point. Is the ongoing theme of our life all about ourselves? Or is the ongoing theme about our life that we're going to come back time and time again to God? And that's what really matters. One of my favorite stories in the Bible is about Job. Job, J-O-B. It looks like Job. But pronounced Job. Why? I don't know. I have no idea. Except that's the way it's been pronounced and since I was a little kid at First Baptist Church in San Jose, California. Right? Pastor Sands. And this is way back in the early 60s. Well, mid-60s, I suppose. 67, I was baptized there by Pastor Sands in the baptistry at First Baptist Church, San Jose, California. Well, Job has always been known as Job to me as a result of that. So whether that pronunciation is correct or not doesn't really matter. What does matter is the life of Job. And Job was a pretty rich and powerful dude. He had a ranch, and he had lots of animals, lots of herds of animals. He had a big family. And then God and Satan decided that they were going to play some games with him. They were going to make his life miserable and see if Job continued to honor God. So they caused there to be some natural disasters that kill all of his family. His home was destroyed. His animals, his flocks were destroyed and flung out into the world away from Job's control. It was no longer his. Everything went bad. Such that Job's own friends came to him and said, "You know what? Obviously you did something to tick off God. Just die and get it over with." And Job said, "I didn't do anything. I didn't do anything wrong. This is just something that happens. And regardless of what happens, the only thing that matters to me is that relationship with God." And so even after each disaster and after all of them were done, he went out in front of God, flung his arms open wide and flung his arms open wide and said, "God, I'm yours. Take me. You are the only God of the universe, the only thing that matters to me. You are the creator of the universe with one purpose for human beings, and that is to be in relationship with you. Everything works when we are together. I'm here." Now, when we talk about fighting the spiritual battles, it doesn't mean that we're going to have to be perfect in that process. If we make mistakes, if we fall along the way, if we sin, we do bad things, it doesn't change the ultimate purpose of our lives. The ultimate purpose of our lives is to continue that spiritual battle for the sake of our souls, but even more importantly, for the sake of other people's souls. Why do I put it like that? Well, because one of the ideas of something that is good is that we have no ulterior motives for doing whatever that good happens to be. For instance, if we see a beggar on the street and we give money to the beggar, and the beggar looks up and says, "Oh, thank you so much. I really needed that." We get the reward from having given that money. So the question is, did we give the money because giving the money is a charitable thing and it's an altruistic thing to do? Is it pure in our intent? Or did we give it because we really wanted him to acknowledge our goodness? Did we give it because we wanted other people to see? Is there anything that takes away from the purity of the goodness of that act? Well, something that is good in and of itself may coincide with us having some ulterior motives with it. But as long as the doing of that act, that good thing, is good in and of itself, and the byproduct just happens coincidentally to coincide with some of our more selfish motivations, it can still be good. If, however, it all boils down to that selfish motivation, then it's not good at all. When we're fighting a spiritual battle, it's up to us to fight, to do the good thing, whether we get recognized for it or not. It's good simply because it's good. And certainly by fighting the spiritual battle as a Christian, going to be rejected, particularly these days where it's not just trendy and popular, but it's considered to be the right thing to do, to denigrate, to, what do they call it, troll Christians, right? Somehow people think that it makes them look more serious if they're able to, poke holes in the thinking of Christians. And so we have to deal with that on a regular basis. But that's it. That's pretty much it. I just wanted to talk about people that are the fallen angels, those that do good even though that they're flawed. Don't wait until you're perfect to do the right thing, because you'll never be perfect. Flawed is how we are. It's our human nature, our fallen human nature, not the way that we were created. We were created to do good things, but we're not the way we were created. And God will use us exactly where we are. So never tire of doing good, even if you're distracted with things that are not. All right, talk to you more later.